Hi, my name is Michelle Okeke. I am Nigerian American. Both of my parents born in Nigeria. I was born here. I'm currently living in New York. You know, I used to want to be a taste tester when I was growing up. I was like, if there's a way that I can be a professional taste tester, my life would be complete. Because I love food, especially when my mom cooks it. She's an incredible cook. And what's amazing is she actually did not start cooking until she came to America and had to feed her children. So it's really remarkable just to think of how she was able to turn really traditional Nigerian meals into something that we enjoyed and grew up, craving. My cooking is almost dependent on the restaurants that I go to. I'm usually inspired by food that I've eaten or, like I said, food that my mom made. So it's a balance, and I would say that it's probably more restaurant though. Because sometimes you just need a good home-cooked meal, but you don't want to be the one cooking it at home. It's not really important for me for my significant other to be a good cook. I think as long as he is somebody who is open to exploring and open to, experimenting like I am, then we can figure it out. My top 3 African meals are all spicy. Just start there. I love everything spicy. And the top 3 are okra soup and pounded yam, pepper soup, and suya. The last time I ate an African meal was a couple of weeks ago, actually. I went to a restaurant in Brooklyn called Buka. Shout out to Buka, love Buka. So today, you guys are in for a treat. I will be cooking suya. And as I mentioned before, it's a spicy dish, spicy Nigerian dish. And it's really a skewered beef that is, I guess, pretty traditional around the world. I think what makes it very unique to Nigeria and to Africa is the different spices that you use to make it. So I'm making a nice batch today, which is something that I'll be able to snack on for the rest of the week. All right, guys, well, we're gonna take a look at our fridge and see what we've got in there. So obviously this is our fridge. And we've got at the top, usually I just keep all of my drinks and my liquids up there. Got this beautiful bottle of white wine that I just got this week. I'm really excited to break that open. Here we've got the meat that we're gonna be using for the suya today. So we'll be pulling this out a little bit later. Love that. And we'll be talking a bit about which cut of meat works best for that kind of food. And then here in my crisper, got to always keep spinach. This is a staple. I use this for everything, for smoothies, for salads, for little side salads if I'm having a main dish, something else. But I always like to have spinach in my fridge because it's such an easy green to put with everything. And then I also have lemons. Love lemons. These are perfect for me, for my teas. I drink a lot of tea. I drink more tea than I probably should, but whenever I do drink tea, I always put a slice of lemon in there. And then also, got bread in here. It's good to keep bread in the fridge, not outside. And then in here, we just got our condiments. I was talking about salad earlier. We've got a lot of different salad dressings up here to choose from. Also have some orange juice, which is key for breakfast. Got some almond milk. I stopped drinking dairy a while ago, and I've switched to almond milk. I absolutely love it. Yeah, that's basically it for there. In terms of my freezer, basically what you'll find in here is a bunch of frozen vegetables. Got some string beans, some mixed veggies down there. Have some ice cream, which I love to have with brownies, but if I don't have it, this is perfect for a Sunday while you're watching your favorite TV show. That's what that is. And yeah, that's essentially it. So come on, we'll go ahead and start making the suya. All right, welcome to my kitchen. I have here everything that we're gonna be using to make an exceptional suya. So obviously, the most important ingredient is the meat. And this is beef sirloin. It's a top loin steak, but you can literally get any cut, whether it's top steak, flank steak. Just make sure it's beef loins because that's actually some of the most tender cuts of beef. And then I have here all of the ingredients for our suya spice. So in some places, people actually buy the suya spice already made, as I mentioned, but I like to make my own suya spice so that I can control the sodium levels and also control the different ingredients that I put into the spice. So for my spice, of course, we've got the peanut powder, which is the base, and then we've got pepper powder here and fefe powder, two different kinds of pepper, both very dangerous. So you want to be very careful how you put this in there. And then I also have onion powder, a little bit of garlic salt, and then my little secret ingredient, which is ginger, which isn't typically found in most suya spices, but it really gives it a very, very nice flavor. And then over here, we've got what we're gonna call the dressing for the meat. And this is just a mixture of vegetable oil with some Maggi cubes and some red crushed peppers, which again is my own little deviation from the traditional suya spice. I just like it to be a little extra spicy. So that is that. And then right here, we've got some vegetables and chilies, which we're gonna be using just as a garnish in the salad for after the suya is done. So I'm just gonna move this out of the way. So the first step is you want to prepare your meat. In a lot of places, people just kind of start cutting at the meat and creating little pieces that you use for the suya. But what I like to do is I like to tenderize my meat. And the way that I do that is essentially, or actually the reason that I do that is so that the meat is even more juicy and tender when you bake it. And then also, I use the other side of the tenderizer to create little punctures in the meat, as you can see, so that when you're rubbing the suya spice, it actually gets into the meat and allows the meat to be even more flavorful. So how I'm gonna do that is I just have a piece of saran wrap here. So I've got a slice of meat here, and I'm just gonna place it in between two pieces of saran wrap. And that's just so that the juices don't go flying when we get to tenderizing. But we're just gonna lay that right in between the two pieces. And then just, using moderate pressure, just tenderize the meat. And then using the other side, the perforated side, you're going to actually create those itty bitty holes in the meat, which are so good for soaking up all the seasoning. So now we're going to cut and slice the meat, slice and dice the meat. And the way that we'll do that is to just create strips of the tenderloin. So you don't want the strips to be too thick or too thin. You want, just consider that you want them to be, let's say about a finger, the space between your two knuckles of your thumb. That's about how wide you want your meat slices to be. All right, so now we've got the meat cut into these nice, long, thin pieces. And I'm gonna cut them into smaller pieces that we can actually attach to the skewers. You don't wanna make the pieces too big, too small. So again, just try to focus on that, the width of your thumb, or between your thumb knuckles. Okay, and you're gonna do this for all of the meat that you have. I'm just gonna do it for this one right now, and then we will move to that later. Okay, so now we've got the pieces. Now we're gonna add them to the skewers. So I'm gonna grab those. And another pro tip, since we're gonna be grilling the meat, you don't wanna put dry skewers in the oven. So a good tip is to soak the skewers in water for a few hours before you actually grill, just so that they're not super flammable. So I've soaked these already. These are already pre-soaked and they're ready to use. So now I'm just gonna start to skewer. And the technique behind skewering is very simple. You just thread it through the meat. And when you're thinking about how many pieces you wanna put, it's usually about 3 or 4 pieces that fit on one skewer. You don't want to put the meat too close to the bottom because people actually have to grab the skewers. So try to envision, or try to place 4 fingers on the stick, and then where your 4 fingers stop, leave a little bit of space, and then that's where you want your meat to stop as well. So I'm just gonna skewer these on here. And for this one, we've got space for a 5th. We're just gonna spread it out like so, and then lay that bad boy out. So you're gonna just do that until all of your skewers are done. And then move on to dressing the meat. People have a lot of different techniques for how they dress it. Some people blend their Maggi with their onion. Some people just sort of mix the two. And that's what I'm gonna do. I didn't blend it, it's just mixed, but I think it's good enough. It doesn't change the taste at all. So I'm not gonna do all of them because I don't wanna bore you. So we're just gonna go with these 2 right now. So now we've got our skewered meat, and the next step is to dress it. So here I have got some vegetable oil mixed with some Maggi, crushed up Maggi, and my little extra ingredient, red pepper, crushed red peppers. So just gonna put a little bit more oil. You don't need a lot, you're just dressing them. And then let that mix. And then you just dress them to your liking. I don't like to make them super duper oily, just a nice glaze is enough. On both sides, and then you're good. See, so. Now, if you want, you can leave this meat, you can let this meat marinate in the fridge for about an hour after you've done this, but I typically just move right on to the next step. And again, it does not affect the taste. It's all about your preferences. So the next step is the fun step. And this is where we make the Suya spice. So this is where the magic happens, folks. This is where we combine all of our favorite things and we come out with a kick-ass Suya spice, okay? So as I mentioned before, we've got the peanut powder and several kinds of peppers and some garlic, salt, and some ginger. So I've got a little bit of over here, but I'm gonna probably need a little bit more for all of this meat, so I'm gonna just add it again. So the main base of your ingredient is peanut powder. You wanna make sure that you've got a good amount of peanut powder that actually is the base for the Suya spice, right? So you can, I lucked out and I found this peanut powder already granulated, already powdered for $3.99, and I thank God every day for it. But if you're not so lucky, you can always just buy some regular peanuts. They look like this, and peel them yourself, grind them yourself. It takes time, but if you can find it already powdered, it saves you so much time. So I've got my peanut powder in there, and then I'm gonna throw in onion powder. I'm gonna put in some fefe powder, which is like a black pepper. A little bit of that, you don't want too much of that. And then some red pepper powder. This you can really add a good amount to because the heat is, it's like a delayed heat, so you actually don't really taste it until you taste it, if that makes sense. So you can put a good amount of it in there because it kind of blends in with the peanut really nice. And then I've got some garlic salt for taste, just a little bit. You don't want too much salt in there. And you don't need too much salt. When you have all these flavors percolating, you really don't need too much salt. And then I've got a little bit of ginger. I'm gonna put that in there for a nice added spice. And then I've got the Maggi cube. Some places you can buy the Maggi already powdered. I've got it in block form here. And also, they have Maggi for different types of meat. They have chicken Maggi, they have beef Maggi, they have shrimp Maggi. It really depends on what you want. I love the chicken Maggi, so that's the one that I used, even though we're using beef. And again, it does not affect, well, it does change the taste, but it depends if that's what you're looking for, and that's what I like. So we're gonna take the Maggi cube, I'm just gonna crush it here. Let me just use my tenderizer. It's good for more than just tenderizing, let me tell you. And throw that Maggi right in there. Okay. Now, a very important step that I feel like a lot of people miss is to just taste your spice. Like, just because you put all those things in there, you know, as you can see, I don't have measurements of anything. I literally spice to taste, and I'm constantly tasting it to see what do I need, what should I add, what should I detract by adding more of something else. This is how it looks, all the way finished. As you can tell, it's like very earthy. It's very earthy. As you can see, a lot of yellows and browns, and it smells so good. And yeah, so I just tasted it, and I think it needs a lot more of my red pepper. So we're gonna throw this in there. And again, just stir that bad boy up till it's good and mixed in. And that's good. So now you've got your Suya spice. And the great thing about this is you can pack it away and use it anytime you want to make Suya. So now we are going to coat the meat in this Suya spice. All right, so I'm just gonna grab a piece of aluminum. A lot of people do this differently. It depends on, you know, how you were raised, who taught you how to make it. Some people put it in a bag, or some people sort of drop the spice right on the meat. What I like to do is to sort of create like a Suya spice bath for my meat. I like to give it a nice, lay it out and let the Suya kind of bathe in the spice. So we're now just gonna coat it on both sides, like that. Get in there good. Start to press it in, really get that spice really into the meat. And there you go. And that is one. Reset your spice, and then just dress the next one. So as you can see, this is really good, especially since we tenderized the meat and really kind of punctured it, because now the spice can really get into all those little holes we created, which results in just magnificent tastes, which is magnificent tastes. This is coated really nicely, and you can never overcoat. I don't think there's even such a thing, because anything that falls off, you want to compensate for anything that falls off while you're grilling. So make sure that it's really coated all the way through. And then you're good. All right, so after you have coated your meat very thoroughly in your Suya spice, the next step is to actually marinate the meat for at least 2 to 3 hours, just to allow the spices to really dig into the meat. So just grab some more of that saran wrap and wrap your meat really, really well, all the way sealed, and then just put it in the fridge for a few hours, or you can even put it in overnight, depending on how, really how flavorful you want the meat to be. If you're in a rush, you could 2 to 3 hours is fine, but if you have some time, I recommend throwing it in the fridge overnight. So we're just gonna wrap this. Again, we wanna wrap it really tight because you're putting raw meat in the fridge. You don't want to compromise anything else that's in your fridge, and you also don't want to compromise your meat. So just make sure it's wrapped really well. Perfect. All right, it's wrapped all the way. All right, and now that we've got it all the way wrapped up, we're gonna just throw it in the fridge for a few hours. All right, so now we're gonna let that marinate, and while that's doing that, we're gonna just clean up the space. I love suya because it's spicy. It doesn't take that long to make, so it's a nice little snack if you're hungry. And it's, like I said, it reminds me of home, it reminds me of my mom. So now we're actually going to preheat the oven to 250 degrees and get it ready for the meat while it's marinating. Preparing and like stacking food for the week is something that I like to do because it saves me on time throughout the week, and it's also something to look forward to every day. All right, so now that the meat has marinated for about 30 minutes, we're gonna go ahead and throw it in the oven. Now, 2 steps. 1, make sure your oven is clean, make sure your grills are clean. Prior to preheating, it's a good step. And the second step is to put the meat directly on the grill because you want to make sure that the meat has that same grill quality as though you were actually outdoor grilling it. So my oven is at 250 degrees, so we're gonna just throw these in now. So as you can see, this is what the suya looks like after it's been marinating for a while. So you can tell the spice is actually darker because it's now absorbed a lot of the water from the meat. So don't be alarmed if it's a little bit darker, that's perfectly normal. So now we're gonna just put these directly on the grill. Okay, and we're gonna set the cooking time for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, you're gonna flip them over and cook them for another 15 minutes, and then you're done, and you can enjoy them. So we're gonna do that. Okay. I cook African food about once a week. And it's usually whenever I have a craving for something that my mom has made. And so I will usually cook like a rice and stew to last me the whole week, or I'll cook me like a nice little suya snack that I can enjoy sparingly throughout the week. All right, so now that we've hit the 30-minute mark, our suya is completely done and ready to be served. So I actually have a few others that I had been cooking as well. So I'm gonna put all of those out onto our plate here. And as you can see, the wood is completely intact because we pre-soaked it. So it's a huge tip not to forget. All right. Okay, confession, I made more than a few. Okay, so here we go. And we are done. The suya is here and ready to eat. And it's a true Nigerian, you can't have meat without a hot drink. So I'm gonna get a glass of wine. Here we go. All right. Now, the moment you've all been waiting for. Take it off and see how it is. Okay, the first thing you notice is how juicy the meat is. So that is, again, a testament to really tenderizing the meat and puncturing it before you spice it. Let's see how it is. That is so good. Oh, and that pepper is like a slowly detonating bomb in your mouth. Like, it doesn't hit you at first, But wow. Whew. I'm gonna get a little bit of wine for that. This is so good. Well, my name is Michelle Okeke. You've been watching Mina TV, and now you know how to make an exceptional suya. Cheers. The secret to a great suya is the spices. Not everybody spices it the same. And I should preface that by saying that you can actually buy pre-made suya spice from certain places, or you can opt to make your own. I prefer to make my own because I can sort of control how much salt goes into it. I can control what flavors I want. And putting little special ingredients in the spice is what really makes yours different from what you might have somewhere else.
Thanks for watching, and if you liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. See you next time.